Yeah, good morning. So we are doing the Uddhav Gita. We are doing chapter 18, verse 28 onwards. Yesterday we had done till verse 27, and the idea about wealth and money was told that it is one of the most dangerous things to have even little bit of wealth or little bit of money. For those who are on the path of spiritual, that is the main cause of worry. So we will see what next Sri Krishna is advising us. So let us see. So we are doing Uddhav Gita chapter 18 verse 28. Surely the Lord Hari, who is embodiment of all the gods, is pleased with me, for he has brought me to such a crisis in which I have got that world weariness which is a raft for the struggling soul. Now remember, these are the words which the particular person was talking about. These are not Krishna's words. Krishna is telling a story about a Brahmana. So the Brahmana is saying that Krishna, Sri Hari, has brought me to this particular condition in life where everybody is shunning me, everybody hates me, my children don't like me, they have thrown me out, my wife has told me to get out. There are tremendous issues in my life. So naturally it must be the grace of Hari which has brought me to this condition. We always look at adversities as very big issues and problems, and we think God is our enemy. This is a very wrong way of looking at it. Imagine if you were to become a great scientist later on in life. Do you think you should have gone through the most troubled times to find your answers? If your answer was obvious, then you have not put in any efforts. And if you have not put in any efforts, do you deserve even a Nobel Prize for what you have done? I don't think so. It is after working for many years that Marie and Pierre Curie found the answers to radium and various other things. They had slept in their laboratory for months, and before that they had done so much of research. Similarly, Einstein and some of the great authors and writers had put in so much of effort. Today, when we have to give, say, Padma Vibhushan or Padma Shri or whatever, you have to be so great, then only you can get it. Even if you have to become a prime minister of a country, you have to start small. So you will find that today when we look at Narendra Modi, who was a very small sevak in Gujarat, went on to become greater and greater and greater and rose in the ranks, and then only after surmounting a lot of difficulties became the prime minister. It is not an easy task. So if something comes very easily, please understand it is by the grace of God it has come to you. For that you should not be bothered. But that which comes where you have put in so much of effort and you have put through so many troubled times, you have to learn to appreciate it. And that tells you that God is actually telling you to do something else, not this. If you have struggled very hard in getting a degree in a prestigious institution, after taking loans and getting, into trouble so many times, you have to understand that maybe that was not meant for you. If it was not meant for you and you have struggled and you have got it after so much of trouble, then there was something else that is meant for you. Now this only a devotee understands. An average human being thinks that, oh, I have done a great deal, that is why I deserve it. The Lord's ways of doing things are very strange. If He wants you to be in a particular field, let us say He wants you to be a singer or a musician, you will be most probably born in a musical family. Your education would have the background of music as well. So by the time you are 4, 5, 6, you might be playing the piano. And then trouble times will come. By the time you are 18, 19, 20, you have gone through literally hell and you have been working somewhere, maybe as a, an office boy or something like that. But by the time you are 25, 30 years old, the same love for that instrument like piano, you will get it back. And then when you get it back, it is called Swadharma. And that Swadharma coming to you signifies that God wanted you to be in this field only. So identification of Swadharma is not so easy. Only the enlightened spiritual masters can actually put you on the path. Otherwise, you will not understand that. So that is the reason why we have to be very careful. But if you are craving for something which is not even on your path, which means it is not actually meant for you, the karmas that you incur after getting that are quite a lot. Imagine that there is a position of a head of a department or maybe a principal of a college which you have got somehow. After struggling for many, many years, you have got it. You are not even supposed to be there. If you have become the principal, you have displaced somebody else. The legitimate person has been displaced. And the karma associated with that legitimate person will come on your head. And that is the reason why it is very, very important not to get into this kind of things. But people don't understand. They get into the karmic actions and the loops, and then there is a rebirth, which is again a problem area. So now here this man, this particular Brahmana, understood the real significance of what is Sri Hari telling him. He got thrown out of his family. His children discarded him. His wife discarded him. His whole town threw him out. If that happened by the will of God, then you have to know that it is the will of God. And then you have to accept it. Acceptance doesn't come to many people. We always want to oppose. Opposition is a part of human being's mind. Human mind always wants to oppose. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why should I be doing, No. It is God's gift that you have been kicked out, that you have been thrown, that you are left with no money, that you have been literally given the boot. And this gentleman, this particular Brahman, understands that. That is why he is praising Sri Hari. He says, surely the Lord Hari, who is the embodiment of all the gods, that means he is the super god. He is a supreme divine consciousness. So he is pleased with me. If obstacles come in your way and if you are in trouble, you should know that God is actually progressing you, not regressing you. How many people actually understand this? Only the great devotees will know that the dear Lord is actually telling us something different. Obstacles are important for all spiritual people. Please understand this. Same thing is told to Jesus Christ also. Jesus Christ's life was strewn with so many issues. He was beaten. On top of his head, they put a crown of thorns. He was stoned. He was made to carry his cross. He was treated very badly by the Jews and the Romans. So when he asked his dear Father in heaven, he said, why, Father in heaven, why is this thing done? At that time, the Father said that it is something that you have to do. I have programmed it in your life. It is something which has to be actually a very important lesson has to be imparted to people. And acceptance came in Jesus Christ. And then he said, yes, for the love of my Father in heaven, I will go on the cross. This is what the Brahmana is saying. He says, Lord Hari is pleased with me, for he has brought me to this crisis in which I have got the world weariness, which is the raft of struggling souls. The renunciation part comes about very beautifully to human beings when they are on the path of spiritual. A time comes in your life when you really don't want anything. You don't want money, you don't want power, you don't want to even be a part of a family or stay in a house. You just want to go away somewhere, run away somewhere, stay alone, stay secluded. This is the highest stage of an arhat or a sadhaka. If you do not go through this extreme renunciation, then it is not the right path. So, renunciation and getting dispassionate about everything, wanting detachment, breaking away from the family, breaking away relations from everybody is very, very important. You will find that it came to Ramana Maharshi when he was 8 years old. Ramana Maharshi left his parents when he was 8 years old because he saw that extreme renunciation in himself. I have to go. So he wrote a letter to his father in his notebook and just walked to the station, got inside the train, and came to Tirunamalai. There he met his father. Father means Shivji. And he stayed there till the end of his life. Same thing happened with Sai Baba. Same thing happened with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left his mother, his wife, his second wife by the way, and went away. Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankara left at the age of 8. So you will find that these are important steps to happen in your spiritual development. My Gurudev did that. At the age of 8, he told his mother, I have to go, you have to let me go. She was reluctant. She said, how can I? You see, 3 children were born to me and you are the only one left, Dattatreya. You can't go. So he said, no, I have to go. Durvasa and Chandra had already left. They had transferred their entire power to Dattatreya and gone. So Dattatreya says to her that I have to leave mother, but I will take care of you. Similarly, you will find there are stories of all the great avatars from Narasimha Prabhu to every other person. This renunciation is an absolute requirement for every person. In my case, I got into this in 2001. By 2006, I had already told the family I am leaving and going. 2007, I left the whole world and I went away. I did not want anything. I just went away. But my Gurudev's instructions were different. So I was told to come back because that aspect of my life was not there. So all the knowledge which comes during that particular period when you have become a renunciate was already within me before 2001. So there was no need for me to go somewhere and sit somewhere. So that is what my Gurudev told me, and it was a long and lengthy discussion for 4.5 days. I can't tell you all the details of it, but it's a part and parcel of the dialogues that happened. So this is important, and this particular Brahmana understands it. In case of those who are listening to my satsang, if that kind of a renunciation, if that kind of a stage has come to you, please understand that it is a God-given opportunity. Sri Hari himself has granted you that. You know, many people, billions of people don't even have that. If you have it, you should grab it. Break off all the relations and go. So today what we are doing, today's entire satsang is on sannyasa ashrama. So listen to it. So, he has brought me to such a crisis in which I have got the world weariness, which is a raft for the struggling soul. It is literally like a small block of wood found by somebody who is drowning in the sea, or maybe a raft. Imagine that is a raft sent by God. Here, take it. I am sending you for this great job of mine. This stage is very critical. If you do not take up this at that point in time, then you go back into the material world with all your attachments, with all your passion, and you are going to become a material worldly person again. Accept Sri Hari's decision for you. If you don't, then it will be next life. It's not going to be in this life at all. And never say anything wrong to Sri Hari. Don't ever say anything bad to God, because He means good to you. He always looks after you. If He is sending you on a journey, that means He has made provisions in the future for you. There is a beautiful story which is there from Gautam Buddha's time. A monk goes out. He's gone out of the monastery for the first time in his life. In a Buddhist monastery, there were only men. And he had grown up amongst all those men. He has never seen a woman in his life. Now, the women who used to come to work in his, they come to work in the monastery are different. So he goes out. Now, when he is, as per the requirement of sannyas ashrama, he is supposed to ask for bhiksha. So he is called a bhikshu. So the Buddhist bhikshu, he goes from door to door. So at one door where he says bhikshande, basically they say certain words. Om Mani Padme Hum, or whatever the words that they say. A lady comes out. Now, the lady says, you please wait over here. I will get some bhiksha for you. She goes in. And she sends her young daughter. The daughter must be 14 or 15 years old. Now, there was no concept of lingerie in those areas, those times. So when the girl comes out, she's wearing a thin garment. And this bhikshu looks at her breast. Those are budding breasts, so naturally he looks at them and he says, I think you have got some boils on your chest. Now he doesn't understand that those are not boils. So the lady also comes out and she says, He tells her, I think your daughter has got boils on her chest. I think there is something wrong with her. So the lady immediately recognizes that this bhikshu doesn't know anything. So she says, no, no, those are not boils. Those are something which God has provided. So what has God provided? You see, a woman is going to have children. So God has provided that for the purpose of feeding children. So the bhikshu says, oh my God, is that the case? She will have children maybe 5, 6, 10 years later. But God has made provisions now. So he doesn't take the bhiksha and is walking away. So the woman calls him and says, come here, come here, come here. What are you doing? Why are you leaving this bhiksha and going away? So he says to her, no, no. If God is making provisions for a child which is not yet born, right, so much in advance, why do I need to go and do bhiksha everywhere? God has definitely made some provisions for me somewhere. And I just have to be patient and know that God will provide for me. I have said many stories before this in all my satsangs. I will repeat one or two of them now again. So this story will tell you that God actually plans out your future if you are on the path of devotion. And if you have got this extreme renunciation in your way, He is going to test you naturally. He wants to see whether you are really that highest one or no. So we will see the next verse. So we are doing chapter 18 from the Uddhav Gita, verse 29. So during the remainder of my life, if at all there is any left, I shall mortify this body, satisfied with the self alone and attending to all that conduces to well-being. The job of a sannyasi is to go in isolation, seclusion, become alone. He should not be staying anywhere close to his family. He should not have any attachments of any kind. He has to give up all his belongings as well and become a complete renunciate. So this particular Brahmana says, now I understand that God wants me to become this kind of a renunciate. So I'm going to renounce this and I am going to sit in one place and I am going to dwell only on myself. The self which is the effulgent one inside every human being. You have to know this. The idea of spirituality is to find this self. We call it realizing the self. Self-realization. To know you are that essence of the divine is important. You have to find that God within you, not outside of you. There is no God outside of any human being. The one that he has to search for has to be inside of him. So this extreme case of renunciation has to befall that person. He has to go in the direction of becoming a renunciate. So when he becomes a renunciate, he has to, now whatever life that is left, we don't know whether you have life left or not, nothing is there. So this particular Brahmana says, Krishna is telling Uddhava this story, he says, for the remainder of life, if there is any left, I shall mortify the body. Mortification of body is important for a sannyasi because there are three things which are the obstacles in the path of realization of the self. Three things. First is the body. Because you have the body, you are always bothered about hot and cold, what people are doing, you hear things, you listen to them, you taste, you eat, all the organs of the body are going outwards. The 5 organs of action want to perform that action. Hands, They cannot be, they just want to be always roaming around here and there. Your legs want to walk and go, run, do all kinds of things. Sitting in one place is very difficult for a person, a normal human being. The evacuation organ, if you eat, you have to evacuate. You have to go and use that organ. The organ of procreation, naturally, for whatever excretion that you got to do, but it is also critical for the lust in a human being. That has to be completely removed from the system. And the biggest prominent number one problem is the tongue. The person just wants to talk. It is a painful thing. So physical, that is the body. The number one thing that a person has to overcome is the body, which includes the organs. Number two, very critical, is called the mind. This mind is such a terrible thing for a normal human being that it doesn't allow you to even rest for a minute. The moment you open your eyes, your mind has already started. It starts in that REM state, that rapid eye movement. It has already started there because you get the dreams. The dreams are the creation of the mind. In your dreams, you will get some fantastic stories. Maybe you will get some ghosts, you will get whatever that comes to you. Your mind is overreacting in the dream state. And when you wake up, your mind is now exposed to all the organs. The organs are now going outwards. So exponential growth of mind's reaction happens. So what it was when you are sleeping, the dream was not that great. It is based on only memories. The dreams are based on memories and certain things that we might have observed or seen or not. But the moment you open your eyes and you're awake in this world, the waking state puts you tremendous to the power of n. The mind starts reacting tremendously. You see objects and you make judgments on those things. So the second thing which a person is supposed to overcome is called the mind. Till you do not seclude the mind, till you do not jail the mind, you have a terrible thing going inside of you. You have to stop feeding the mind. One is with external objects, and second is with your past and the futuristic things that you might be thinking of. That has to be overcome. So second thing in life you have to overcome is called the mind. And the number three, we have so many kanchukas, like ego, arrogance, intellect. The last is called the intellect, which is what we say as jnana. See, everybody has some inkling of knowledge. And those who are on the path of spiritual, they have knowledge of the spiritual. So this jnana tells you, oh, I am meditating. Oh, I know this answer. I know everything. I have overcome my mind. You have overcome your mind, then who is talking? Who is telling you you have overcome the mind? The mind itself is making a fool of you and telling you, see, you have overcome me. This jnana has to be overcome by vijnana, the knowledge of the highest in spiritual. It is only then can you cross over to the other side. So these three things are essential. Normally there are four. First it is the sense organs. Second is the body, physical body. Third is the mind, and the fourth is the jnana. But I combined the 1 and 2 in one. So you please understand this is what you got to do. So first you got to mortify your body. Overcome the body, overcome the mind. Mortification doesn't mean torturing yourself. Otherwise, you will say, oh, in the Taipusam, everybody puts all those hooks in the body and they drag something or put one. No, 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 not like that. You are not that Madari. Okay? You are a person who has to overcome the body. So, mortifying the body is essential. Cutting off relations with everybody is important. You see, your dependency and people's dependency on you is so much. Your wife will say, oh, get this from the market, do this, do that, and you will be attached to your children saying, Baba, have you done your homework? Have you done this? That is your attachment. You want to go back to your house, you want the comfortable bed, you want that TV remote, you want all those things, you want your cell phone, you want your iPads, you want all those fancy gadgets that you have, you want your car also, bank accounts. You have to overcome all this. Can you stay away from all this? So that will be called mortification. Mortifying the mind means, why are you thinking so much? There is no need to think. There is no need to dwell on subject matters. Only one subject, the Divine Lord. No other subject. Some people tell me that I take your name constantly. Okay. If you take my name constantly, then why is your mind talking? So if you take the name of the Lord, let us say you're saying, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. But with your hand, you are buying vegetables and fruits and this and that. And you are thinking, कितना पैसा दिया तुमको भैया? बोला ये 20 रुपया देने का है तुम वापस हमको. That means your mind is talking. So you might be doing japa. You might be doing whatever you want to. You are like those people who go around wearing orange color clothes and carrying one joli in their hand and twirling the beads. But you are a useless person who is not twirling the beads. You are twirling your mind. So this is one thing you have to understand. Just doing japa doesn't mean you are doing something great. Your mind has to be overcome. Japa or taking the name of the God will only give you heaven of that God. If you take Krishna's name, he is going to send you to Vaikuntha, not to Vrindavan. No. Because Krishna is also in Vaikuntha. So he will send you to Vaikuntha. But from Vaikuntha, there is a return back ticket to come back to earth again. There is no entry in Vrindavan for those people who are taking just the name of Krishna, because he is saying Shri Hari over here. You can keep on saying Shri Hari or whatever you want to, doesn't matter. But if your mind is overreacting and if it's talking, then you are not on the path of spiritual at all. This is one thing we have to understand, because there are many people who have come and told me, Guruji, I take the name of the God, Sir, if you're taking the name of the God, what are the other things that your mind is doing? Then you are not on the path at all. No. If your mind is acting, then you have not come the second thing. There are 3 obstacles I told you. The first, body. Second, mind. Third, the intellect. You have not overcome that. So, he says, I shall mortify the body, satisfy with the self alone and attending to all that conduces for the well-being. You have to consider reaching that state of enlightenment, and whatever it takes as your well-being. I have to do this means I have to do this. I have to climb Mount Everest means I have to climb Mount Everest. That is required. You have to do it. We'll move to the next verse. This is verse 30 from chapter 18 of the Uddhav Gita. May the gods who rule the three worlds bless me in this. Well, Khatvanga attained to the sphere of the Lord in about 48 minutes. See, in our world we say 48 minutes, but it's called a Muhurta. Actually, to attain God, you can attain God this way, just by the snap of a finger. You have seen that, fellow who does snapping the finger, the Avengers movie. With the snap of the finger, he destroys the world. Okay, so if he can destroy the world by the snap of the finger, you can attain enlightenment also. But people do not have that kind of a devotion to God. People talk about devotion, but they really don't have any devotion. They have all other things going on in their mind. They have all the inadequacies in their world. When a person talks of devotion, why is he thinking of inadequacy? Why is he thinking that the world is doing something wrong to them? Why is the person thinking that there are bad people in this world? Why is the person thinking about the world? You are supposed to only think of the Lord. So if you are taking the Lord's name, you have to only dwell in the Lord. Like Mirabai. There is no other things. You should never dwell on other subjects. The mind has to be overcome. Otherwise, you are nowhere on the path of spiritual. See, he has given the stages that are important. So we will follow the stages. So here he says, may the gods who rule the three worlds bless me like this. So this Brahmana says, all the gods, see, they are the people, they are the gods who are taking care of these domains. What are the domains? There is a Lord of the sea. Okay? He takes care of the sea. There is a Lord of the mountains. He takes care of the mountains. You will ask me, whom are you talking about? Haven't you heard of Varun Dev? So all the seas, all the rivers, all the water bodies are controlled by Varun Dev. Then, the mountains. Have you not heard of the Himvan? Parvati's father? He is in charge of that. And incidentally, Parvati is nothing but Parvat. Parvat means the mountain. So their department looks after all these things. Saraswati looks after education, knowledge. So these gods have to help you. Plus you require Kartik Swami because he is the general of all the gods. You see, he is the super boss. He is the one who is going to lead from the front. We require his help. To start the journey, we require Ganesha. If you don't have Ganesha on your side, you know you can't even start anything. He is the one from which everything begins. So these are all the gods. What we call as demigods. They help us travel the path of spiritual. So we need all their blessings. So first we have to get the blessings of all these gods and say, please help me on my journey. It is essential and important. The one who takes you on the journey is another person. We'll come to him later on. So we will see who this person is, whom Sri Krishna has appointed. Later on we will see. So he is telling about a story of a Khatvanga who got realization in just one muhurta, like this, patak. So it's a very simple story where he was a very kind person. And because of that particular property of that person, he was able to reach the gods immediately. So it's not that great a story, just for understanding it is there. So now we are going to the next verse. Here Sri Krishna is going to give us the understanding about this particular yoga, which is called the Sannyas Yoga. So let us see. So we are doing Uddhav Gita chapter 18 verse 31. The Lord said, thus resolved in his mind, the good Brahmana of Avanti succeeded in removing the knots of his heart and become a sannyasi, calm and silent. In this verse, there is a very, very important step which Krishna is actually describing. So we have to learn that step first. So first, the resolution has to be there in the mind of a person. Yes, I want to reach the state of enlightenment. That one thing has to be there in the person. And giving up. I have to give up everything so that I can reach the divine. Please understand one thing again here. People think that this is not a requirement in devotion. They think like that. You are mistaken. It is the essential requirement of devotion. For others, it is not. For Sankhya Yoga, there is a different stage. You have to go through knowledge base. Here you have to even discard knowledge. Please understand. For Karma Yoga, you have to be involved in doing karma. But for the path of devotion, you have to renounce this world. Please remember this. In the initial stages, the renunciation doesn't seem, I don't have to renounce is the first stage. You are given the opportunity to be with the family, do your stuff. But that renunciation, the extreme renunciation has to come in. Mahendranath, who has written the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, was living with his family, his wife and family members. But when this renunciation came to him, he saw all those young boys taking sannyasa. That time he left his family. Sai Baba, who practices devotional path, or Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who practices devotional path, had to leave their families. Mirabai, who was the highest devotee of Sri Krishna, had to leave her husband and even the kingdom that she was the queen of. Those who know Rana and all those stories will definitely understand this. Tukaram Maharaj had to leave his family and go and sit on the mountain top and do his writing, because he wrote Abhangas over there. Sant Jnaneshwar had to go out and do the bhiksha along with his brothers and sisters. So if you think you are in the devotional path and you don't require to go into renunciation, you are absolutely on the wrong track. Renunciation is a must. Giving up of physically giving up people is important. People, places, things, whatever that you own, you have to give it up. The only thing which you can gather is the Lord. On the path of devotion, you just have to understand that your possession is only Krishna and nobody else. You can't have thinking, oh, I will be going with my... No, you can't even carry a stick with you. You may carry it for walking, but when the time comes, you may have to give it up also. So Krishna is not only explaining the sannyasa dharma, but he is telling how you have to achieve God realization. God realization is a must for all those who are on the path of spiritual. Whether you are on the Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, or the last path which I practice, which is called the path of love and devotion. On the path of love and devotion, extreme renunciation is a must. A beautiful question was asked to Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Ramakrishna Paramahansa had never read Gita in his life. Never. So when the question was asked to him, can you please tell us what is the meaning of Gita? And he says, the only thing that I know about Gita is I turn the word round and it becomes Tagi. Tagi means Tyaga. Tyaga means renounce. Gita teaches renunciation, and the complexity of Gita is quite a lot. So those who actually understand Bhagavad Gita will then know. The idea that you have to be a devotee means clearly you have to give up. Giving up is a must. You can't have properties, you can't have parents, you can't have your relatives, you can't have your wife, your children, this one, that one. Nobody, you can't have anybody with you if you are on the path of devotion. You have to be alone, and God is your father, mother, brother, sister, husband, wife. Everything is only the Lord and nobody else. This path was taught even by Jesus Christ. If you can see the way he gave up his entire family, Mary and all his brothers. Similarly, you will find that anybody you name in India, if you say Kanakdasa, he also gave up. Purandardasa, he also gave up. Can anybody name a person who was on a devotee of the Lord, who continued to be with the family or the children or whoever? They were not. They were not. They had no attachments. They were completely detached. They were completely dispassionate. And their discrimination said, only Krishna is real, rest everything is fake. So you can't have anything in your life saying that this is what I want. There are no wants and desires for a person who is there on the path of devotion also. Only Krishna and me. Only the Lord and me. That's it. Nobody else. So, thus resolved in his mind, he has resolved in his mind. The good Brahman of Avanti succeeded in removing the knots on his heart and become a sannyasi, calm and silent. This word, knot, is important. It tells us the world binds us with the knots. You see, it is called Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya means heart, Granthi means the knot. We have other Granthis also. I don't want to discuss them now, but Hridaya Granthi is the one which we discuss. The path towards renunciation and reaching, becoming a complete sannyasi and reaching Advaitic state is going upwards. Upwards. You have to reach this state, the Sahasrahar. To become a devotee, you have to stop at the heart. And the journey is inwards. Inwards. This way. Not this way. This way is Advaitic. You are going to become Aham Brahmasmi, because that is the stage of Brahma. That is reaching Brahmanyana. Jnana. So you become a Brahmanyani, you crack the skull and you go out from here. All these people that I mentioned to you, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, to Tukaram Maharaj, to Jnaneshwar, to Sai Baba, or any other person, never reach this stage at all. Even if they try to reach over here, they will come down because they are devotees of God. So their stage is inwards. See, when we talk of upward movement, there is an inward movement of 7 doors. After cracking the Hridaya Granthi, there are 7 stages inwards. 7 stages inwards. This way, there is 1, there is 2, and there is 3. That's it, finished. But this way, lot more stages. 7 more stages. This is not the forum to discuss that. So I will just stop at Hridaya Granthi and tell you Hridaya Granthi means what. Hridaya means heart. We are not talking about the physical heart. The heart from which you express emotions to this world. When you look at your mother or father and you say, I love you, my father, I love you, my mother. When you look at your girlfriend, your wife, your children, and you say, I love you all. When you look at this world and you say to the world that I like this world, this is a beautiful place. The like and the love and all these words that you express are called attachments. They are still binding you to the material body. If you still have those attachments to the material body, you have not broken the knot of the heart. Hridaya Granthi is a knot which you have to crack open, which means only through the path of renunciation can you get there. You have to renounce everything in this world. You can't say, I love my parents, I love my wife, I love my children, I love this world, I love this, I love that. What love are you talking about? It is the emotional aspect of life. These are the same people who will then later on trouble you. Imagine if you are on the path of devotion and something happens to your mother or father. You will leave that God over there and you will run after your parents. See? That is not the right thing to do. On the path of devotion, the Lord is taking care of them. Why are you bothered? Those are Lord's children. They are not nothing related to you. You don't have to run after them. Who are you to run after them? The Hridaya Granthi cracking means overcoming these kind of emotions in the world. They come with ego. My name is so and so. I am related to this person. I have this chair to look after. After me, who will take care of this world? I have so much family matters to close. This is the problem. To crack the Hridaya Granthi, you have to first give up all these things. Renounce. Tyaga. This is essential. It is only then you will unwind the knot. Untangle it. Otherwise, it is not possible to untangle at all. You will still be attached to everybody. Devotional path is closed over there. The doors are closed. You are still going to wander in these rebirths again and again and again and again and again. Now, this is slightly connected to the Bhagavad Gita, which I do on Tuesday. Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, I am doing Bhagavad Gita and I am going to reveal certain secrets which Krishna has told Arjuna. You combine this with that, you will get your fantastic answers. So what is essential? If you want to be on the path of devotion, like all these great people, you have to renounce. Renunciation is a must. So, succeeded in removing the knots. This particular person was able to crack his knots. How he did that? Number one, he first was thrown out of his house. His children, his wife, his relatives, his friends kicked him out. Number two, when he was roaming in the streets, he understood the power of bhiksha. You see, the biggest ego that a person has is, I am not going to eat from somebody else's hands. You see, this ego comes in a person. You have to bow your nose. You have to put it on the ground. You have to crush your ego to that level. I am not going to wear other people's clothes. What are you talking about? That is bhiksha. To wear clothes of another person who has discarded those clothes is the greatest thing on earth. You don't understand. If you are wearing clothes which are your own or given by somebody, they have a lot of karma associated with it. You have to get the bhiksha of clothes from other people. Isn't that what happened to all those people from the, Vivekananda and all those people? They all got clothes as bhiksha. And Swami Vivekananda distributed the ochre clothes amongst all his people. You have to overcome the clothes, the body which you care for so much. The food that you think that is your own, I will not eat from here. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. Mortification of the body is important. You have to bow down to the people. Ask for bhiksha. Bhikshande. If you do not understand what it is to destroy your ego, you are still going to have that Hriday Granthi in place. I will not take money from anybody. No, you have to take. You have to beg from people. It is begging which teaches you humility in life. If you don't know how to beg, humility will never come to you. What makes you think that all these sadhus and saints which are there, they ask for money or give me some food? Why do you think they ask that? They are not asking for millions. They are saying just give me 5 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupee. That's all they ask for. It destroys the ego. So for a person, that is essential. So this Brahmana had given up his ego. That is where he crossed over the path number 2. No clothes, no food, no money, nothing, nothing, nothing. The last stage is what he had reached. After giving up everything, wandering around, he realized that this is an opportunity and not a punishment. This is what people don't understand. They think it's a punishment to ask, beg for money or do something. People think it's a punishment God is giving me. No. That is what we started learning today. On the Sannyasa Yoga, most important is it is not a punishment. It is an opportunity given by Sri Hari to reach the highest perfection called devotional path. So whether it is a simple human being who has been pushed on this path or a saint or a sage, for them to realize that God is doing something really fantastic for them. That way, you have cut off from your family, you have cut off from material world, you have cut off from money, wealth, fame, fortune, the body, essentially the body. You don't care for how you live, you may be just wandering. How many beautiful stories are there of Tilopa, Naropa, Padmasambhava, where they had to give up everything and wander in the streets. Buddha himself had to do that. He was not bothered of when he was sitting under the tree, the Bodhi tree. There was no food. He just sat under the tree. Sujata, a small girl from the village, came and then she looked at Buddha and she said, "You might not have eaten something. I'll get you some food." When you come under this kind of a renunciation, the divine Sri Hari arranges for the food and your requirements. Because see, if you have to reach the state of enlightenment, why will he kill you? He is already programmed, isn't it? So Sri Hari has already programmed, so he is anyway going to take you towards that. So breaking the Hriday Granthi, which is nothing but all the attachments in this world, we have to give up. The ego has to be destroyed. No arrogance of any kind. All that thing which you think about, I know, that intelligence which you have has to be given at the 3 stages which I said. You have to do that. And then you have to come to the stage where the knot on its own opens up. So Krishna is saying this Brahmana had reached a stage, thus resolved in the mind. The good Brahmana of Avanti succeeded in removing the knots. It is not that Krishna is removing the knots. It is your efforts which will make you remove the knots of his heart and become a sannyasi, calm and silent. The last words will tell you that there is nothing to bother you about. You have to become calm and silent and peaceful. So we have come to the end of verse 31 today. We will start verse 32 onwards in the coming week. We will continue with the Sannyasa Ashrama. So thank you very much. You have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow for my regular satsangs, on Tuesday for the Bhagavad Gita, And during the course of the week, Saturday, Sunday, again for the Uddhav Gita. Bye.